SEC QB rankings, where do we think Arch Manning ranks? Where do we think other guys rank in the SEC? Gerald, like a lot of 6 here pretty quickly, and then we'll send into a nice. I'll start out with who your 16th quarterback is, and I guess it might be new now because we had that crazy transfer situation at Tennessee.
I think I still have the Calzada Armada there at number 16. I've seen Zach Calzada at Texas A&M. I just don't think he's a very good quarterback, at least comparatively. Oh, I think we lost. Oh, Matthew, you back?
That's fair. No, we are. Yeah, I'm here. All right, can you hear me?
I can. Oh.
Let me see if that helped. Did that help at all?
Yep, it did.
Okay. So for me, I'm 16 as well. I'm Zach Calzada. I don't think he's very good. I've seen enough of him. I don't really care what he did at Incarnate Word, even though I will say, hey, Cam Ward did come there, so they have something positive going for him. But no, I just don't think he's at 16 as well.
I don't think the measurables are quite up to what Cam Ward brings to the table, so it'll be interesting to see how that works out for him. I think Matthew's having some technical difficulties, so I'll run through my bottom 6, and we can get into the top 10 when he gets back. I've got Jake Merklinger out of Tennessee coming at 15 again. We haven't seen much from him. Nico was going to be the guy before Nico decided to hold out of spring camp, apparently. So he is Merklinger. I need to see something from him in order to put him higher on the list. Bo Prabula at Missouri. Austin Simmons at Ole Miss, Ty Simpson at Bama. If you weren't good enough in that offense to beat out Jalen Milroe, based on how everybody hated on Jalen Milroe, then we are going to assume that we're not the great. Gunnar Stockton I have probably lower than folks would like. I've got him at number 11. And then Matthew could run you through his bottom 6, and we can go on through the list.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see now what you had. So 15, Bo Prabula. I do have him there. I think he could climb, though. He's one of those guys that I was impressed what he did at Penn State, but he wasn't the guy at Penn State, so teams weren't, game planning against him, so he's 15. Number 14, I have Jackson Arnold. I don't think Jackson Arnold's that good. And we'll see what he does at Auburn. But if Hugh Freeze misses again on the quarterback, the seat might get very, very hot there. Number 13, he could be higher on the list, honestly. I don't hate Blake Shapen. I actually thought he played pretty good for Mississippi State, but I think you have to account for availability as well, and he's always hurt. We saw that at Baylor. We see it at Mississippi State, and the supporting cast doesn't help that. Like, he doesn't have a very good offensive line. I honestly don't think Jeff Lebby's that good of a coach, so I have him at 13. Number 11 or 12, sorry, I have Taylon Green. I like Taylon Green, but again, health is a big thing for me, and he's inconsistent with throwing the football. I don't think he's terrible at throwing. Obviously, can't be a Division I quarterback, especially in the SEC, and terrible at throwing the football, but he's not consistent enough for my liking, so that's why he's my number 12. You're at number 11 now?
Yeah, I had Gunnar Stockton at 11.
Oh, okay. So you're a little bit lower on him than I am. Number 11, I do have Austin Simmons. I think Austin Simmons is a solid football player, but again, just haven't seen enough of him. So I have him at number 11. So we can settle into our top 10 now.
We have some differences, which is rare for us, which is good.
Yeah, that is true.
So at 10, I have Marcel Reed. At 10. I think Marcel Reed, if this was quarterbacks who like zone read quarterbacks, I'd probably have him higher. But I just haven't seen enough from Marcel Reed as a passer to put him any higher. He's a crazy athlete, and I think he's got an opportunity to really grow that, because there are I think there may be one guy on this list, maybe two guys on this list that are as explosive of players and athletes as Marcel Reed. I think if we're doing athleticism rankings, the dude's just an athletic freak, right? He's just absolutely, but I just have not seen enough from him as a passer over the last year for me to feel higher about him.
No, I think that's fair. I'm a little bit higher on Marcel Reed. My list will reflect that. I think if he just changes and tunes a little bit of his game, he can be a very good quarterback. His big issue was, which is weird, they pointed out in the Texas game, like he couldn't throw, I believe it's to the right side. Like he just didn't throw to the right side, which is very weird to me. So if they can like take some of that out of him, I think he's can be a really good quarterback. Number 10 for me, I'm lower on this guy because I'm more of a conventional quarterback type of guy, is Diego Pavia. I think he's a really good gamer and game manager, and I think he works for that type of offense, but I don't think he's a good quarterback, and that's my opinion on him.
I have him higher on my list, and I'll explain why when we get there, but I mean, I feel like 6 through 10 is probably pretty fluid. Like I feel like it's more like tiers in this. But yeah, I have Diego Pavia a little higher on my list as well. What about number 9?
Number 9. So I had Nico here originally. I'm just gonna leave it here. That's where their situation ranks. I think they're going to end up getting a better quarterback. Not than Nico, maybe about as good, maybe a little bit better, depends on who they get, but I think they'll get better than the 2 guys they have on the roster now. I think they're going to explore. I think you're going to look at Brown from South Florida. They're going to look at Avery Johnson would be like the guy. That would be an upgrade if they could get him from Kansas State somehow, or Rocco Becht from Iowa State. I think you're going to land someone in that range. If you do that, I might even push them up a little bit higher, but I have the Tennessee QB situation at 9 for right now.
Yeah, I went with the starter they have on campus, or the guy they have on campus. I had Merklinger at 15 because we haven't seen anything from him. I had him above Calzada because I think maybe I'm just biased against guys who played at A&M. I have Blake Shapen at number 9. I think Blake Shapen is what you mentioned about availability is huge, right? He has struggled with injuries, and I think Mississippi State, I don't know if they've done enough along the offensive line to ensure that Blake Shapen makes it through a complete season. But I think when Blake Shapen has been healthy in those 17 minutes of football that he has been healthy over the last couple of years, he's been good. He's shown flashes of why he was one of the guys at Baylor, right? He's shown flashes of why he was a guy who was pretty decently coveted when he went into the portal. And so, I think he's got an opportunity in that offense. It's a very quarterback friendly offense. So I think he can put up numbers this year. And I think he's got an opportunity to, if he can stay alive behind Mississippi State's offensive line, then I think he's got an opportunity to do something.
That's true. I have Gunnar Stockton here. I'm higher on Gunnar Stockton than most people. What I saw, I actually thought he was an upgrade in the game I did see versus Notre Dame. I thought he played a very good football game in that game. And if the wide receivers at Georgia can just catch passes, that's the reason Carson Beck had a much worse year than people realize too. Like, if they just caught 50% of the passes that they dropped out of the ones they dropped, he would have had 300, 400 yards more passing. If they caught all of them, I think he lost 800 receiving yards. And you saw Gunnar Stockton in that one game lose 80 yards passing, which means he would have been a 300 yards passer versus a top 10 defense in Notre Dame. So I was impressed. I also think he's got a lot of gamer to him. I actually think he's an upgraded or a slightly upgraded version of a Diego Pavia. I think they're kind of similar. So that's why I have him a little bit higher than Diego Pavia, and also at number 8.
Yeah, Gunnar Stockton was one of the ones that I struggled with the most. I had him higher on my list, and then I just couldn't justify, I think, in the way I was thinking about it, putting him higher. But I ultimately he is. I mean, Texas fans know how good he is, right? He came back and engineered a comeback against Texas, so there's nothing to be said about that. At number 8, I've got Jackson Arnold. I have him higher than you have him on the list. I think Jackson Arnold suffered from being the quarterback and the worst year OU has had in modern history, right? I think folks like to crap on him a lot. And I put this out there in other socials. Fans should be way less mad at Jackson Arnold and way more mad at OU's offensive line coach and their head coach for not being able to field a single healthy wide receiver. If you put any quarterback out there with a bad offensive line and no healthy receivers, they're going to look terrible. And the reason why the other guy was better is because he's faster, right? He's able to just bail and run. And so I think Jackson Arnold, again, it feels weird saying nice things about Jackson Arnold because of all the folks that spent years telling us that he was better than Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers. And again, here we are, right? But I think Jackson Arnold has an opportunity to really recreate the conversation around himself. I think Auburn's situation is better than what Oklahoma has right now as far as surrounding talent, especially offensively. Again, we'll talk about Oklahoma's quarterback situation here coming in just a moment. But, I think Jackson Arnold is a guy who got unfairly maligned by being on a really bad team and was not put in a good winning position.
No, I think that's completely fair. I just was never a big fan of him, even coming out of high school. I thought he was a little bit overrated in my opinion. So I never saw anything to deter me from that at Oklahoma, so I'm just going to stick with it. Now, if he does that at Auburn, then I'll change my mind. I think he has natural and raw ability. It just, I feel like he's more of an athlete than a quarterback at this point. So that's why I had him there.
I think
number 7, I have Ty Simpson. I didn't really know exactly what to do with him because he hasn't played that much. He's been okay. I mean, it's hard for me to believe he's going to be really good because Jalen Milroe wasn't a great passer of the football. If this guy was an elite passer of the football, I think they would have played him, especially last year, because Kalen DeBoer wants a sniper at the quarterback position. He wants someone who will dot you up like Michael Penix, and that's just not Jalen Milroe. So it's hard for me to believe that this guy's going to be that. So that's why I have him at number 7.
Your exact like talking points is why I had him at number 12 in that offense. If you could not beat out Jalen Milroe, then I'm not ready to believe in you yet, right? And again, I'm a big Jalen Milroe believer. I love Jalen Milroe. I was sad when he decommitted from Texas, but he wasn't the quarterback they needed in that offense, right? And so if you could not beat out Jalen Milroe in that offense, then I'm not ready to believe in you yet. At 7, I have Taylor Green. I think he, not again, like you mentioned, not the classic quarterback, but I think he fits what Arkansas is going to want to do at quarterback. I think they probably will be the run heavy, wham 'em, bam 'em kind of offense that they have been in the past. And I think he's able to execute that really well with his body type, with his play style, with how he likes to approach the football game. I think when it comes to fit, both schematically and for the team and for like the psyche of the fan base, I think Taylor Green's a good fit. So I have him at number 7.
Number 6 for me is Marcel Reed. This is where I have Marcel Reed. I just think there's a lot of potential for Marcel Reed. Again, I was impressed for what he was thrown into at Texas A&M. They had okay wide receivers. Their running backs were decimated. They had like no running back help at the end of the season. And I thought he was a decent enough quarterback, and I think he's going to get better. So that's why I have him at number 6, but I can definitely see why someone would have him lower. To me, I think there's 4 guys that you have to rank in the top 4, and then there's 5 through, I would say, like 13. You kind of have to like just throw around and pick whoever your flavor is.
Yeah, I think the top 4 is pretty set. I think we'll have probably a top 5, 6 situation. At 6, I have Diego Pavia. I think, again, based on what Vanderbilt wants to do, and we've talked a lot about, like, I haven't seen enough from him yet. I haven't seen enough from that guy yet. We've seen a ton of what Diego Pavia is going to do. And I think Diego Pavia is good enough to beat Alabama, he was almost good enough to beat Texas last year, right? Diego Pavia has been a giant killer in a lot of senses. And you mentioned being a gamer earlier, like that is an often overlooked and undervalued feature of a quarterback. He's a guy who's going to walk in and pee on an opponent's center midfield, right? He's the guy who's going to walk in and say, I don't care who you are, what the logo is on your helmet. I don't care what stadium we're in. I'm going to come in and try to punch you in the mouth. And I value that quite a bit. And again, based on how Vanderbilt wants to play football, they want to play that clock control, annoying, grind it out with four yards of play and extend those drives with my legs, make some weird plays. Like, again, based on fit and what we've seen from him, I think Diego Pavia, with that marriage at Vanderbilt, is number 6.
I think that's completely fair. Number 5 for me is John Mateer. I think this is where it gets hard. If he had put up similar numbers, which he put up fantastic numbers at Washington State, if he would have done that in the ACC, the Big 12, the Big 10, he's probably top 2 or 3. But the problem is he did it versus very weak competition. So how does that translate to Oklahoma? It's going to be a little bit softer landing because you do bring Ben Arbuckle along with you. I think that helps out a little bit. I think it's basically impossible to have the same type of injuries Oklahoma did last year at their skill positions. Like, I just don't see that happening again. So I think that will help him out as well. Deion Burke's healthy. He's a really, really good football player. So I have it at number 5. And I think you could argue all the way up to probably 2 or 3 for him.
Yeah, I have him at 5 as well. And I think he is, again, I think it's a level of competition thing, right? Where when he played, let's just Texas Tech, for example, he was 9 of 19 and threw a touchdown and interception, right? Against Washington, he was 17 of 34 and was 1-1, right? But when he played Portland State, he threw 5 touchdowns. When he played a bad Hawaii team, he threw 3 touchdowns. Utah State, New Mexico, right? 4 touchdowns in those games. But like against, Wyoming, was 1-1, right? So like there's an opportunity, like I think it's a level of competition thing. Again, it's hard to put up those types of numbers in a video game, but I think based upon if he, again, like you said, if he did it even at a decent ACC team, right, or something along those lines, I would feel better about him. But I just have not seen that production against good teams. And when he played the better teams on the schedule, those were the games he struggled in.
No, 100%. Who's your number 4?
I've got Lagway at 4. I've got DJ
Okay.
Lagway at 4. Again, I think if DJ Lagway is one of the best. I think DJ Lagway has the opportunity to end the year in New York. Like if he plays, at his highest potential, I think he's a Heisman level quarterback. I think based on the level of talent he has, I think this is one of the great things about high buyouts for coaches is that it buys people patience. It's forced patience, right? And I think getting Billy Napier a couple of extra years, giving DJ Lagway a year to develop. I think if DJ Lagway is healthier last year, I think Florida has a very different football season. I think that Texas game looks vastly different. I think Texas probably still wins, but I think it's much closer and much more competitive than it was. DJ Lagway is a dude. There's no two ways around it. Him being at 4 is not a statement on his skill. I think it's just there's a ton of skill at the top level of the SEC. It's going to be a very top-heavy SEC quarterback year. DJ Lagway is a dude, and I'm not excited to go play him in the swamp this year for Texas.
No.
Like it's going to suck. He's a very good quarterback, and he's a guy who can light up the scoreboard on any given Saturday.
No, 100%. Number 4 for me is Garrett Nussmeier. I think all the talent is there for him. He has a super strong arm. He's accurate. He just makes some mind-numbingly dumb decisions sometimes. That's what I've seen from him do. Like he'll throw an interception. Why are you throwing that? Kind of reminds me a little bit of like a stronger arm Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart did a lot of that too in college. Where why are you throwing that football there? That doesn't make any sense. So I don't know if that can be taken out of him because honestly, there's not many quarterbacks that I've watched in college, NFL, that gets taken out of. Josh Allen is honestly the only one who's like those dumb decisions have kind of gone away. Whereas everyone else is like, you're still making these dumb decisions because that's just who you are. That's who you were doing or what you were doing when you were 7, 8 years old playing Pee Wee football. So it's going to be a very interesting for Garrett Nussmeier this year. And this is a big year just in general for LSU. And I think they're going to go as far as he takes him because he has a lot of talent. Like he could be the number 1 pick in the draft. That's how good he is. Number 3 for me, this is where my boy comes in, Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning has a crap ton of talent. I just can't put him at 1 or 2 yet because I have yet to see him do it through a whole season. He does have some similar things to Garrett Nussmeier where I'm like, why are you doing this sometimes? But then I will say this, in the game versus Mississippi State, he was a lot more in control than he was versus the week prior in UTSA. UTSA was kind of all over the place. Mississippi State, he throttled down a little bit and ran the offense better. If he can do that, he can definitely be the number 1 quarterback in the SEC moving forward.
Yeah, and I think I've got Arch right there at 3 as well. And again, I think this is we're judging folks either based on potential or judging folks based on production. And I think Arch is a guy who doesn't have much production, but I think what we've seen from Arch is a very high ceiling from him. And again, we're probably seeing this through burnt orange colored glasses. I'm not going to say that we're not probably biased, but like I put him there, and then I validated it against other lists that had him and most of them had him in the top 4 or 5, and so I felt fine with it. Right, I think Arch is a guy who has a lot of expectations. The highs that we've seen from Arch are very, very high. Now he's made some dumb decisions, but unlike, like we mentioned, Garrett Nussmeier, he's not a 4th or 5th year player. He is going to be in his first year starting. He was a first year or second year backup last year. So there is some of that to be at play. So I think if Arch hits his ceiling, and I can say the same thing for any of these guys in probably the top 4 or 5, right? If Arch hits his ceiling, there's an argument that he will likely be one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the country. But I'll say the same thing about DJ Lagway, who I had at 4, or Garrett Nussmeier, who I have higher on the list, right? I would say the same thing about all those guys.
Who do you have at number 2?
I've got Lenore Sellers at number 2. I think Sellers is a stinking dude. Now, he's another one that we talk about availability is your best ability, and he had some injury issues last year. But I think when we look at just how much impact they have on a game, and you talk about guys that you have to scheme around, Lenore Sellers is that dude, right? Lenore Sellers is a guy who you absolutely have to scheme around. You absolutely have to have your best game against him because he's going to make you pay. He's going to punish you. He's fired out of a cannon when he decides to pull the ball down. But unlike some of the other quarterbacks on the list, I think he also has a very good passing ability. I think he's got some opportunity to grow. But again, young quarterback, right? First year start. So he relied on his ability to be the best athlete on the field in some instances. I remember watching that A&M game, right? And if he doesn't go out, I think they probably are able to hold on to that game, right? Lenore Sellers is just a freaking dude. There's no two ways around it.
No, 100%. I have him at number 2 as well. I think he is the closest thing, like body type wise, in the way he plays to Cam Newton since Cam Newton. Yep. He's just a big tank. Like he could play linebacker. He's huge. So I've been very impressed with him. That team, South Carolina team, you got to realize, when I was breaking down their roster last year, I said it's one of the 3 to 4 worst rosters in the SEC. But then I came on the show and predicted 7-5, and they outdid that because of this guy, of him, Nick Harbor, and basically Rocket Sanders. Those are the only 3 guys I believed in on that team, and they all played really well last year, and they won 9 games. They don't have Rocket Sanders anymore. It's going to come down to Nick Harbor and Lenora Sellers. They are literally going to have to put up video game type numbers if you're going to see South Carolina sneak into a college football playoff. If they don't put up video game type numbers, that team is not going to a college football playoff. They do not have the talent. They lost most of that really good defense. You really only have Dylan Stewart and 1 or 2 guys coming back from that. So it's going to be all on Lenora Sellers this year.
It is very much going to be on his shoulders, but I think he's got the ability to do it. All right, who do you have number 1? Again, spoiler alert.
I have DJ Lagway. When I watched the LSU game, I have a tweet out there. I tweeted 5 minutes after the game. I predicted Florida to beat LSU preseason. I predicted that game in season as well to stick with it. And it was because of this guy. I think he has the highest upside I've seen in a while at the quarterback position, not just because of the athleticism, but he's got a strong arm. He's really accurate. He's able to play from the pocket and move around. That's the thing that's kind of lost too. People don't realize you have to be able to move around in the pocket to extend plays more than making plays from outside the pocket, but he can do that as well. He does everything well. There's nothing I look at and like, man, he needs to get a lot better at this, a lot better at that. I think they're going to have a decent season this year, and I think he's going to be the biggest reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had him at number 4 on my list, and I think there's an argument like you made for him at number 1, and I think I could have very well put him at number 1 on my list because he's just I keep coming back to this, but when you look at difference makers on the field and guys who are gravitational guys who require you to scheme for them, who require you to be aware of them in multiple facets of a defensive scheme, Lagway is one of those guys. So I have Nussmeier at number 1, controversial pick. I think part of it is because like LSU is just too talented for him to not be good, right? And again, I said that we could have said that last year, and look what they turned in. But I think based on what we've seen from him and what hopefully LSU can do schematically to help him, like it's just weird how they schemed him up in some games and how they schemed the offense. Like they're just, hopefully he's not having to throw the volume that he has had to throw in the past, and they can supplement him with some running game that will take some pressure off him. But from what we've seen from Garrett Nussmeier, again, if we get the highest highs of Garrett Nussmeier, if we get the heights, he could be one of those guys that we're talking about being in New York at the end of the year. He's a guy who has all the talent in the world. If he throws 2 less interceptions, he's, looking at 26-10 last year, which is a really good number, right? 26-10 sounds way better than 26-12. And it's just one of those weird ways that numbers slice and sound, right? It's just a massive difference in that. So I think that to me, I think Nussmeier is great. I think LSU goes as far as Nussmeier can take them and as far as the offense schemes him into success.
No, I don't disagree with that. Like I said, I think the top 5 you can throw in basically any order, and I'm not going to really argue with it. It's more of a tier thing for me. That's the thing too. When people always complain about rankings, I'd rank it, but then I'd also tier it because it makes more sense. Like if you want to debate 1 through 5 as your first tier, I think those are the guys. Whatever order you want to put them in, I don't really care because you can make it an argument for all of them. After that, I really think it's 6 through about 10 to 11 is in that same tier, and then throw them in there, and then 12 to 16 is the bottom of the barrel in the SEC. And a lot of these guys can, I said, move up. Like Bo Prabula at the end of the year, if he's the 8th ranked quarterback in the SEC, it wouldn't shock me. He has the talent to do it. I watched him at Penn State, but it's about when he's game playing against, how does he do? Because he wasn't. No one was saying, hey, we got Bo Prabula this week. This is how you stop him. They were saying, hey, we got Drew Aller this week. This is how we stop him. And they spent 5% of the game playing on Bo Prabula.
Yeah. And again, I think that top tier for me, I wouldn't even go 5. I think it's like Lagway, Sellers, Arch, and Nussmeier are probably that like top tier of quarterbacks in the SEC. And again, feel free to timestamp this and come back in 10 months and tell me I'm wrong, whatever. But I think those 4 guys are going to set the ceiling for what the quarterbacks are in the SEC. And it's going to be really fun to watch.
No, it is. It's going to be very interesting. I thought the SEC was loaded at the quarterback position last year, and they kind of let me down. So we think it's loaded this year. We'll see if they live up to it.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you guys for watching. Again, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button.